to be able to see my poetry community that I've met over the past few years, and my friends that are the part of my tree of branches here, basically. Like, these are the tree. This is my tree. I've known these people for over 20 years on this side of the place, and they've held me down through anything you can imagine. So I appreciate the support from both my family and my poetry friends. Thank you very much. My poetry is usually based on meditations, and I write them down. So pardon me if it comes a bit metaphorical or too esoteric, but I hope you enjoy it. All right, this piece is called Threads of Society. My parents came into this country smuggling morals, education, and ambition. The first thing they asked them to do was, do you speak English? I came to this country smuggling new adventures, wide-eyed curiosity, and puberty. And the first thing they asked me at school was, did I grow up in a hut? Nah, but my father was born in one. And his chronic grind mentality created tectonic steps that cross continents to have his seed look you in your eye to ask you, what has your European father done for you? We're eating steaks off the same plate 2 continents away. Does that make your temperament volcanic from rubbing you the wrong way? Because you and I are the same level right now. Then I have to ask, what are your colonial head start helped you to have the audacity to ask me about poverty that you pictured for my family tree? A 500-year handicap, technicalities changed. We struggled and climbed through your immigration rigmarole, and now you want to call VAR on us scoring our goals. We were meant to be the enslaved, taxed, and forgotten souls, bottom of the totem pole in a cold world that doesn't want to see your face for only when it's queuing for the election poll. Mixture made this place what it is. Be it iron rebars and cement, skin, culture, and sentiments to people of European, Asian, and African descent. See, the thing is with this system, it'll have you distracted enough of your life till you forget to live it. The intricate energies we weave has become a tapestry that gives their hateful society anxiety. Threaded through the tailored timelines of social media feeds, their algorithm is to fuel your bubble with dissonance and greed. To make sure you never read me behind the meaning of their censorship of expressions and proclaiming for Sudan, Congo, and Palestine to be free. Turning the fabric of reality digital will have us struggling to feel empathy. My parents came to this country smuggling a thread of hope stitched to the linens of my childhood clothes. All it takes is for one thread to a thread we all carry for our tapestry unravel our fabric of society. Don't let them win. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. This next one is called Penrindipity. All right? Penrindipity. So, thank you. I'm glad someone called it. You know, it's a portmanteau of my pen and serendipity, because I call my pen serendipity. So can I talk about my pen, guys? Yes. Can I tell you about my pen? I feel like I need to tell you about my pen. I've had my pen for a minute. I swear, she's been attached to me since an infant. They gestated from a womb of worlds proficient in words, and my pen is perfectly imperfect. She contains my contradictions and creates sense from a currency of consciousness that exchange meditations for actuality. My pen knows my story's already been told, of the mind that took galaxies and folded them into ink. She loaded thoughts and turned them into dimensions of art as they were secreted from the dark spaces of depression. My pen haunts my mind. As a scribe that only writes when they tasted universal truth. She danced across the shoulder blades of society expressing fight, flight, and intuition. She is a ride or die. with a spirit of right or die. We live for do or die and why try, while my spirit inhales smoke and she exhales poems to the wide sky. Indifferent of the tiger's eye in a land where the winds only whisper, survive. I'll put her in predicaments commonly out of my elements that led to me being periodically out of line. The synchronicity that we sometimes achieved are the wonders of why my spirit dances in between the threads of my dreams, making the mind race while the tongue tries to meditate on the flavor of truth. Drinking from the fountain of youth is the only way to soothe the growing pains of our wisdom's tooth. I have distilled our depression into glistening ink that turned concrete to conceptions, regret to reflections, and challenges to aspirations. My pen knows life is a joke that a few get before the punchline. So we write to accidentally fall into a rhyme that might stimulate my mind enough for my soul to laugh before it rests, and the rest of my pen digress into multiple ways to de-stress without making a sleeping giant that makes me regress. This letter is to deconstruct the distress I would have been if I only saw myself as a human being with a pen. Thank you very much, guys. All right, the next piece is called Fear. Simple as. I've known fear since I was a child. They used to stand outside my front gates with a wild crocodile smile that beguiled with an argyle cloak styled with my life's trials. Love, bro. All right. I've known fear ever since I was a child. They used to stand outside my front gates with a wild crocodile smile that beguiled with an argyle cloak styled with my life's trials. Eyes the color of consequences that my shoulders would carry. Hands of Anubis that held the scale to tally my courage against their influence. They greeted my father when he walked out but never followed him. It seemed they only want me. Felt like a cold war with Nosferatu, a benign enemy from afar until I let them in. First decade of my life sentence was punctuated by fear being my warden. My mother sang to me songs in 3 tongues that I could never give them what they want. I capitulated by my 2nd decade. Playing the charade of being an adult and dismayed by this entity that stifled every decision, step, emotion felt, and conception dreamt. I created an altar to fear, altered out of fear, adhered to sacrificing my ambitions, failures, mistakes, and doubts as a holocaust to an entity that had me in a cobra clutch with no gears to change. My own willfulness and society suffocated me till I started to forget my own mother's songs. The only dimension this dread couldn't penetrate were those songs, my circle of friends, and my pen. I wanted to regain these songs again. I started being married to the melancholic melody of chasing a memory I couldn't tell if it was mine or was sent to me. It was implanted into my hippocampus and played the rhythm of my eardrums that had my limbic system dancing, captivated by a high that had my spirit singing and my ego tongue-tied, putting a chasm in between my demand for derelict dreams and the fear that was supplied by it. I asked eternity for a passage across and it only came with a cerebral actuality. I trapped myself in a cave and gave Plato his allegory while I see silhouettes of a crocodile smile against the walls of my own mind. Ended up looking for these songs for so long I lived lifetimes in the morning, day and night. I found God twice, euthanized my pride, looked deaf in crystallized eyes just so that I can avoid telling my mother I'm losing to something I saw you and Pops handle with ease. But I've done the maths. I've swigged psychedelic liquids to exercise the spirit and they defecated on those levels of serotonin like a pigeon on my morning commute. I've wrestled with Hades. I've given Prometheus back his fire. I've silenced Shango's thunder and gave a shaka to Shaka, right? just so that my frosted fears didn't stick to my tongue in a twisted fallacy of finding freedom from fear. At the end of my second decade, did my mother tell me the songs that soothed me was the rhythm of my beating heart, limitless courage, and the laugh of my own innocence. Thank you very much. All right, this next piece, we good? Yeah, we're good. This one is called Denial. I opened the book with a table of contents filled to the brim from the banks of awareness, universes, and tiredness. Trying to rock spirits awake by juggling gratefulness and denial on a mind as fragile as wafer, with thoughts and concepts sharp as a razor but light as a quasar. I've been fasting, digesting a few bookmark rules I should be applying. I was told to give credit and take the blame. Take the money and leave the fame. In negotiations, never make the first offer. Broken verbal agreements with life had me writing down my dreams, and I was tired of dancing in between denial and wishful thinking. Embraced by Sufism, but felt no thought in being one of Machiavelli's children, a 21st century victim. I existed before Descartes had his affirming thought. I didn't. I existed before Descartes had his first informing thought. I didn't put the cart before the horse. I just realized I didn't need that much luggage where I was going. But denialism is a thought that was born from rejecting my own truths. See, the thought of this soul existing is a lie. The thought of this thought denying you is world turning inside out. Going from winter yesterday, summer tomorrow, and not knowing what today is. This thought is a butterfly deciding they want to go back into the chrysalis and turn into the sentient fluid and build itself back into a moth. You can't bury yourself in a cocoon of conflicting thoughts. See, don't let a wishbone grow where a backbone should be. Don't let a wishbone grow where a backbone should be. Burying your courage steals the colors of your ambitions and dreams. Don't confuse your wants and needs. You see, these thoughts are cannibalistic. It feeds on itself and sees your thoughts as a hive mind of compartmentalized trauma, streaming contents of contorted conscience that belittle the betterment of our own mind. This world isn't kind to the eyes that have been driven mad by the digital divine. See, these thoughts are a double-edged sword with no sheath. You either cut to relieve pressure or you cut for a glimpse of peace. Our turmoils are tied to the ego, and it's a toxic relationship at the least. Blinded by a dance of whose turn is it to take the lead. See, this thought is devoured ignorance and became a feeling that bargained its way into a depressed playground pit of anger, but never got along with acceptance. So in remembrance, grief sat between them on life's merry-go-round. The thought can have a spiral, and as long as we remember to get off the ride once in a while and not to be spellbound by denial. Thank you very much, guys. I got one last piece for you guys. I genuinely appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Shouts out for BYOB guys for letting us have this platform and letting me be here today. Alright, this last piece is called Emperor's Clothes. Autumn was calling for me to forget the fables of today and replay the sentiments of spring sowed in myself yesterday to reap the verity of overmorrow, because my mind wrestles my patience for tomorrow. The day I met truth, I felt like the feather in Forrest Gump, held by something so simple, but the narrative complicated the profile. We sat on a bench on the crossroads of infinity, and they didn't have a chocolate to offer, but I did have questions that needed answered. Like, why am I in a land with the eyes of a child and the head of an emperor, wearing clothing materials made up of grandeur and pompous poetry. We sat on a bench at the crossroads of infinity. They didn't have chocolates to offer, but I did have questions I needed answered. Like, why am I in a land with the eyes of a child and the head of an emperor, wearing clothing materials made up of grandeur and pompous poetry? These crossroads are the only place the fog of my delusion does not reach. And my truth teaches me now to bleed my experiences and alchemize them into ink and tell my tales as fables written in the stars, as constellations that repeated themselves till I find myself again with brand new eyes. Seems like I've met truth a few times. They were just disguised as words my mother said, actions my father did, reasons my ex left, and moments when I leave my friends breathless in thought. I met truth when I realized that my father's last words were sat on my chest till I share it with my son and pass. When I met truth, they spoke to me on the streets with an odor of rock bottom and eyes that knew grandeur didn't feed an empty stomach. Eyes that held abuse like a child holding a parent in a fun fair pointing to the next ride, hoping it gets them out of the hell that burned them so much that sulfur was their sustenance. Yes, I've met truth before. And truth was that I could have done more to hear them out better. At least hear them out enough to shed this emperor's clothing weave from factories of echo chambers of anonymity. Ghosts should not dictate your truth. The day you meet truth, the world won't change. But time will pace itself to your purpose. Your heart will beat to the rhythm of gratitude. And your mind will see that if you found love, you found the clearest truth there is. Thank you very much, guys. My name is Jallow.